Can you at this moment acknowledge that that mistake was made and that we were responsible for it? It's something we didn't want to do and don't want to repeat?
Congressman, to reiterate, the United States does not deliberately target
Got that part.
Period. Full stop. And nor are the Iranian people our enemy. The IRGC is the adversary in this case.
I heard that in your opening statement, Admiral. I asked you a very specific question, and I'm curious what the answer is.
So the investigation is ongoing. As soon as it is complete, I'm happy to be as transparent as possible.
We will not take responsibility for something we very obviously did.
So it's a complex investigation. The school itself is located on an active IRGC cruise missile base.
Absolutely.
It's more complex than the average strike. As soon as we're complete, I'm fully committed to transparency, given your important oversight role and the other members here.
Just so you know, and I have an enormous amount of respect for you and an enormous amount of respect for the Pentagon, I do not trust that answer. What we've seen out of the Secretary of Defense and his callous disregard for any sort of rules of engagement or protecting civilian life may make us suspicious.
You also lifted the oil sanctions on Iran, giving them about $14 to $16 billion. They can buy a lot of ballistic missiles for that. Was that part of the plan? Lifting oil sanctions on them in the course of the conflict? They kill 14 Americans, we lift oil sanctions on them?
As you know, sir, the U.S. military does not lift sanctions. That's a policy decision.
Well, it doesn't seem to be going well. And I would like to know how many more Americans we have to ask to die for this mistake. Do you know?
I think it's an entirely inappropriate statement from you, sir. With
all
due respect. With all due respect.
It's not a statement, it's a question.
Chair now recognizes the gentleman from Tennessee.
With all due respect.
Dr.
Very good. Let me ask, too, since the conflict has begun, how many drones and missiles has Iran launched? And how many of those have targeted civilian sites? And can you give us some examples of the civilian targets that have been struck by those drones and missiles?
Yeah, Congressman, I think the specific number of drones and missiles are best addressed in a classified forum, which follows this. I'll talk about there. But what I can say here is Iran
Can you just give us orders of magnitude, hundreds, thousands?
Thousands.
Okay.
What I can say here is Iran deliberately targeted civilians in the Middle East at least 1,000 times. We've seen many of this play out on TV. Restaurants in Bahrain, restaurants in neighborhoods in UAE, the same thing in Kuwait and Saudi Arabia. We saw before our very eyes on TV, you saw it yourself, yes. Cluster munitions going off over Tel Aviv, targeting civilians. Yeah. It was crystal clear.
Were correctly followed, and it was a righteous strike.
The American military is unmatched professionalism, as we see with the three witnesses today. How reassuring for the American people and how a deterrence it is to the enemies we have around the world.